Hey guys, your boy MKS back. As promised, this is part 2 of the video I just made about some of the negative things about Italian football. It's a bit of a strange one. I like to be a bit weird and quirky. As an Italian football fan, anyone's watching this thinking like, oh, mate, does this guy not Italian football? But actually I do like Italian football, but I think sometimes looking at the negatives is a way you can improve. But I also thought, because the 13th I talked about before, with my superstition, 13 being an unlucky number in my opinion, I thought I'd look at the opposite side of the argument. So anyway, I'll try and get to my list, which I was thinking about while I was doing, and I hope to remember this I was thinking through in my head. I'm also hoping to, maybe in the future I might make some of the reasons not to support Italian football, but I suppose that's going against my own views, but I could listen to the alternative. But some of my dilemmas about being Italian football, about being a fan, and also some of the, I mentioned before in my previous video about some of the fears I have for Italian football, like being divided, or violence, or being shamed, or like especially with the racism and stuff like that. And like if football, anything in the past in Italian football, unfortunately, like fans of rival teams have even seriously injured or even killed each other. So, and when Italian clubs have played non-Italian clubs, many of the fans, like Juventus fans, for instance, will support other teams rather than support like say if Fiorentina are playing, or in the past when they were in Europe, they were playing another team. I think all the fans of Italian football should support Italian teams when they're playing non-Italian teams, in my opinion. And I'd also love Anglo-Indians to be united for Italian football and things like that, possibly Eurasians generally. But anyway, sorry, I'm wary I've just crossed the 2-minute mark, so I'm going to try and crack on with the list. But yeah, hopefully that made some sort of sense. I think it'd be great to see Italian football more united. Obviously, when they play against each other, I think they should be competitive. Like, to me, I'd actually make, probably shouldn't say this either, but like I talked about some of the things I shouldn't say, but I'd make the Italian leagues like more practice leagues where they help each other to practice so they can make Italian football proud and stuff like that. But anyway, 11, I'd love to hear what you think about some of the things that you think are negative about Italian football. Normally what I hear is normally what people say about is like it's boring, defensive, it's not attack minded enough, or getting stuck in, or they don't take risks. They don't go to win, they go to like draw games or stuff like that. So I'd love to change that, like make Italian football as attractive and attacking. I said I used this word before. I said I don't know if I should use it, but as sexy, if you like, or cool as possible, and market it. And I think it is changing a little bit more attacking, but sometimes it just reverts back. I still think they should have some defensive strengths as well, but I think there should be more of a balance to more creativity in midfield to attack more. I was going to say in part 1, I forgot to say that. Obviously, if you're not interested in football, these videos probably won't be very interesting for you. But I would obviously love any sport, like people who are kind enough to support my channel and might want to listen, or might want to learn about football or get into football. Not that I'm a master technician necessarily, but I'd like to be. But I might make some points where you think, oh, that's an interesting side about football. It's not just kicking a ball around the field, but there's actually a lot of thoughts that go into it and plans and things like that, and it involves some sort of skill. I'd love Italians to practice at least an hour a day of football and be more united and get behind the team, even the media, to say more positive things, and probably encourage Italians to practice football more rather than support football as a priority and things like that. So, and that's a bit quirky of me because I only support Italy for football, so it's easy for me to say. But anyway, 12. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you think about football, how you think it could be Italian football, sorry, how you think it could be improved. Obviously, for any people who might watch from America, if I'm lucky enough to have people from America or other countries, they'd probably call it soccer. But anyway, how more Americans could get into Italian soccer or football or whatever you want to call it. I'd love to. Like sometimes, part jokingly, jokingly, because I don't really like to ban things or tell people what to do, but part of me would say I'd love to ban other sports or discourage Italians from playing other sports just to make so that more people can practice in football. But anyway, I hope to come to more of my ideas about Italian football in future videos. Anyway, sorry, laughing away. But number 12, I think sometimes Italian football can be a bit too arrogant. Sometimes, rather than just being like, just always trying their best and being down to earth, but having confidence, but without being arrogant. That's what I'd love to see Italian football do. And I think the press can be really negative, but I think they should get behind the team and encourage the team. So that would be point 12. Point 13, again, I think there's lots of negatives about like playing boring or defensive football. Although I think defense is like an art itself, and there is some there is some excitement about defending, putting tackles in, blocking and things like that, but most people want to see more attacking football. So Serie A, the Italian league is known to be a bit boring, and that's probably why it doesn't generate as much revenue or interest that would generate revenue as the Premier League or possibly even other leagues. So I'd love it to be more exciting, like to invite more fans, which could also lead to success on the field as well, with more commercialization. But also just probably as well, I think winning is a priority, but I think playing attacking, attractive football, I think would be cool football, and all that would be the icing on the cake, really. I want to have my cake and eat it as well. So I think it'd be good if they played more attacking football. And I suppose like some of the racism was, I like, that's another thing I changed about Italian football. I think it's a shame there's like a lot of racism or prejudice rather than people just practicing to make the team win, which I think should be the priority. Like, but I don't think racism, prejudice or hate or violence is actually going to make the team do any better, or the teams in Serie A, Italian teams generally do better. But yeah, I'd love to see Italian football more united somehow. I was worried. I'm a bit paranoid about sharing this idea, because like if other teams hear it, like they might be more united as well. But I hope mainly Italian fans see this and like promote the idea of being more united, get behind Italian football generally, and that kind of thing all around the world is what I'd love to encourage. And I think like racism could also put off fans from other countries, but also that's not the only reason why I wish to discourage it, because like as an anti-imperialist, I wish like at the same time I support Africa and Asia, which I'm probably the only person who supports Italian football, but also supports anti-imperialism and supports people from Africa and Asia. I'd be interested to hear if other people have the same, if there's anyone else who also thinks that. But anyway, sorry, I'm probably not making a huge amount of sense. But yeah, so 14, I think like also being more versatile. I might mention before in one of my other points, I think part one somewhere I mentioned about like changing some of the culture about playing too many older players or violence or prejudice or other things like that, and also like the tactics that don't work, like playing defensive. We've lost so many tournaments, I say we as a Italian fan, and yet we don't seem to learn how to change to be more attacking and to get at teams, so we can actually, I think some of the things have changed, but what worries me is like if we revert back to playing overtly defensive. I think defense is important, but as I say, I think it'd be good if we played attacking football as well. But as I say, defending when we needed to, but also play more enterprising football. 15. Once again, I'd love to see more Italians practice more football and not be, as I said, be down to earth, not be too arrogant, but also not be underconfident either. Just have enough confidence, but also to believe that we'll practice more than other teams, and that will help us to win. That part of me also would love to see us like, yeah, Italian football to be united and stuff like that. Point 16, I think, yeah, it's probably a bit rich for me to say. A bit rich, as they say, a bit or hypocritical or whatever you want to call it, to say like about not being versatile with my plans, because like some of the strategies I'd love to implement, I think I'd find it hard to change as well. Like I have specific ideas in my mind about how I'd love to play, and I suppose I'd find it hard not to. Find it hard to change as well. Point 17, I'd love it if Italian football was like even more attacking than like Brazil or Argentina or some of the South American teams, but at the same time also had good defence, and perhaps learn from countries like France or Spain, which are also Mediterranean teams. So they're not that far away from Italy, and so I'm sure if they can create better players, I'm sure Italy can too. And like, if some people don't want to see more so-called non-indigenous players, like more African or Asian players play in the team, then if you look at France, they've won the World Cup twice with a mixture of local and indigenous. They're probably not even, if you go back far enough, they're probably not indigenous anyway, but I can't really tell whether they're indigenous or not, but because humanity's had many migrations over time anyway. But France have won the World Cup twice with having many African players basically, and like Zidane, he's part Algerian, so if Italy could get a player like Zidane who could come along and win World Cups, or at least a World Cup, and get to European finals and win possibly European competitions as well, especially World Cup, maybe do well in the Olympics and all that sort of stuff, then I think it would be good. Like, I don't know if France say, some people in France might feel that they want to win with it. Just some people might not like it, but people generally, when you lift the trophy, the Jules, ironically, not called the Jules Rimet, which was as the World Cup was invented by a French person, I think, and it was named after him. But if you win that trophy and lift it up, I don't think you'll care that whether it's so-called indigenous Italians or not who win it. But also, I think it's quite possibly an irony that I support Italy, because I think I look Italian and for nostalgia. But when I was younger, I didn't know much about the World Cup, so when I supported them, and I was just a kid, I was fairly young, so I was quite naive. I was like 13 or 14, and probably quite immature for my age as well, having some learning disabilities and things like that. So I think it's quite. But part of me thinks that if we have lots of migrants like France, which Italy has now, lots of migrants, if they can help Italy to win the football, I think the indigenous Italians should also be happy. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, but yeah, I think if you win the trophy, you might, as long as you win by the rules of the game, as long as I think the only thing what may be disappointed, as long as Italy win without exchanging money or bribing officials or things like that, I don't think it really matters how we win, as long as it's within the rules of the game. So 18, on that note, like some of the negative stuff that I talked about, like playing too much defensive, and also some of the corruption, and also, as I say, the media not getting behind the team and things like that, I think is a bit, there's some of the things I think are negative about 10 football as well. And 19, I talked about the Italian teams being divided, and Italy as a country not getting behind the team, and not supporting different regions going against each other, or different clubs not getting along, and for political reasons. And also, I nearly forgot this point, but I think there's a lot of politics involved in football, which, say for instance, a manager might not pick the best players, but might pick their friends or people from certain teams like Juventus. Whereas if there's a player from another club that's just as good or not better, or if not better, or who plays well as a team, I think they should pick him instead. I think they should pick what's best for the team, or do what's best for the Azzurri Italian national team. And I think clubs as well, similar thing. So I mainly I want to talk about the national team, but also the clubs as well. And 20, again, I think there should be ways to learn from a country like Spain about not having too many older players, but having more younger players. So sorry if apologies if I've repeated some points. I hope this video was at least fairly interesting and not too long. And I'd love to know your thoughts. I think hopefully it won't be too rude or harsh. But anyway, as ever, I love your support. If you're not done already, please check out part 1 and please look out for part 2. Peace and love, guys.